Hello, welcome to the 3inMidfield podcast, a podcast where three friends who had their dreams being professional footballers dashed away as children when they all discovered food have their say on the Premier League. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, boys and girls, theys and them. We are back, boy. Ever President's Coach Kojo, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a good day. How are you?
I am doing all right, not too shabby, I can't complain. Cahill here, one of the other co-hosts, of course. I never introduced myself. Never. And every time, I feel like I say I never introduce myself more than introducing myself.
Yeah.
So that's that. Let's get my name out there. There we go. And we are, of course, joined by a guest extraordinaire. Jem, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, not bad, guys. Thank you for having me on. First time. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. Chelsea fan, of course. And why not speak about, obviously, the biggest transfer, I think, of the window. Never mind that Manchester City nonsense. Never mind that. Let's talk about, obviously, the biggest mover in the room. Romelu Lukaku is back. At least coming back to Chelsea. 97 million pounds, like 115 million euros, something like that. Big money for a big player. How excited are you for this signing?
I'm happy that we've actually got someone. It's been quite a hard transfer window, especially for a Chelsea fan. You know, lots of talks around Haaland coming to Chelsea, and we were waiting patiently for that offer to come in, and hopefully that would have triggered something else. But Haaland was my preference. Not going to lie, originally he was always the man that I wanted. I think 80% of Chelsea fans wanted, even though they don't want to admit it now because Lukaku's here. But he was the guy that we did initially want. And look, I said if we don't get a Haaland and a Lukaku to Chelsea makes sense. The guy's got a point to prove. The guy's scoring double-digit goals in Inter Milan for 2 seasons in a row. Conte's pretty much revitalised him as a player. He's improved as a player as well, massively. He's improved as a player. And I think if you look at the way how we play, I think especially from last year, the only thing we missed was someone that could actually just pull it in the back of the net. And he does that, he definitely does that. So I think he will play well with a Havertz, a Werner, a Mount. And what he actually allows our players to do is slip back into their natural positions. Because I felt like some players were playing out of position to accommodate an area that we didn't really have, We had no trust in Tammy Abraham. Giroud was always in and out of the games as well. So I think the signing of Lukaku, even though it can be or may be expensive to a lot of people for who he is, and that it could work. And I think as a Chelsea fan, I think I'm more just sort of an open book to it more than anything. I'm not very excited or no, it's a crap signing, which I feel like our fan base is doing at the moment. I'm sort of bang in the middle and just open to seeing how he plays.
I mean, it's obviously a great signing for you. You feel, like you said, you feel that hole in number 9, obviously, because Timo Werner, obviously, the £50 million. It didn't seem to work out. He's still got a few years left on his contract, so we never know what can happen. But for him in particular, I mean, you've got a lot of players, a lot of wide players, a lot of quality wide players. You've got Hudson-Odoi, Christian Pulisic. So I imagine Timo Werner will drop wide left now. I mean, Hakim Ziyech as well. So
yeah.
What do you see as your strongest lineup going forward? Attacking options going forward.
It's hard because we have so many options, and I think next season what you'll see, which Tuchel done a lot last season, was rotation. He never really kept the same 11, especially from the front. It was always switched around, and no one was really in form for us last season. I would say someone that could really, other than Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount played at the pretty decent season last season, but for this season, I think it would just be interesting. I think my preference, if it was me to pick the team, it would be Lukaku, Havertz, and Mount. That's who I would probably go with. But I see Timo Werner in these games, so maybe Lukaku, Werner, and a Mount is probably the way it will probably go. And I think you may see a better Timo Werner this season. Only because I think he's better when he's not the main sort of focal point in the team. He's allowed to sort of use his movement and run into spaces behind the defence. And I think Lukaku will do that massively for us next season. And yeah, it's going to be interesting because we've got so much talent up there. Ziyech will come in certain games. Pulisic, if we're struggling, we need someone to take the ball up the pitch. You've got a Christian Pulisic that can do that as well. We have different type of attackers. They've all got their own different sort of, you know what I mean? They're not all the same, are they? Other than maybe Cho and Pulisic, if you make sense. They're very direct with the ball, but Ziyech is more of a creator, isn't he? Gets the ball, likes to create, and Werner's someone that loves running into space. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, let's get into that in particular, his running to space. Now that he's no longer the focal point for your team, Lukaku's there. I feel like he's always worked well in the two. As of the Leipzig connection with Yusuf Poulsen, that's when he was mostly scoring a lot of his goals. Kojo, what do you expect for Timo Werner this season, knowing that he has this partner that can obviously take away a lot of the focal points of the defense?
I think what's important, number one, is the fact that he's got a partner he had Paulson, as you mentioned. Lukaku had that with Lautaro Martinez. So you've got someone who's experienced playing in a 1 and a 2. So now if Werner was to start a game on the left side, that's in terms of like base formation, kickoff, you see him on the left wing, that's where you start. He can have that connection knowing that Lukaku's good being a forward. And the big thing about Werner is, even though he did miss a heck load of chances last season, one thing you cannot say is that he didn't create. One way or another, he was creating. One way or another, because of his movement and his speed, he was causing havoc in other defenses. So one way or another, he's a big threat. And in Lukaku, you've got someone who just lives and breathes goals. He loves to score goals. He's crazy for goals. So you've got someone that, not only just him, you've got Kai Havertz as well, who's more like a second striker-ish kind of attacking midfielder who just loves to get in there and make those late runs and score goals. So literally within that in itself, you've really got an option in terms of formation style. If you want to do 2 up top and Havertz just behind, or Mason Mount, who is underrated creatively. You've got Werner, who can play in a 4-3-3, Lukaku up in the top, Werner on the other side, and Hakim Ziyech on the right. If they wanted to go to the conventional 4-4-2, you can do that with Kante and Jorginho. You know, there's so many options around this right now that gives Tuchel so many. It gives him. I think it'll give him joy. I think it'll give him joy in the fact that he can say, you know what, I think in football, what you want is your manager to just change things within game if it's not working. And with that kind of talent that he has, especially with those two, he has so much available towards him that he can just change things in the blink of an eye, knowing that these players are tactically adept. Someone like Werner can adapt to these things. He played in the 2. He was so known in Bundesliga for drifting out wide and sort of just cutting inside with his speed, running against the space, making sure he beat the line, make sure it's always onside, and obviously finishing these chances one-on-one. So it'll be very interesting to see how he links up with Lukaku. Lukaku's a smart player. So, you know, you got someone who can also hold the ball up, and there will be questions about his touches and his passes. You know how genders are, you know how he's going to go.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, someone like Lukaku...
I feel like you're the only one that brought that up. You're the only person that holds
I put it up because you know what's pending. Like literally today, there was a 5-minute video of him and his touches in Serie A, and I was like, well, the guy just won the league title, right? Like he's not a bum. And he led his team to the league title as well. I should actually say. So I think with those two, he has the opportunity to have something very special with those guys, and I genuinely actually do think that it will help Werner score a lot more goals this season. I'm hoping that he'll have a lot more easier chances for him to get his confidence back up before he starts trying to score the more difficult ones.
Let's hope there's no Cisco step overs this season, though, because they were that's a throwback. That's a throwback to one of our episodes. But yeah, he can't do step overs to save his life. So let's hope he's worked out his game. But let's get into the real questions now. You've spent £97 million on a striker. There's obviously there's an expectancy on him. Lukaku comes into the league. Obviously, I think he scored like 100 Premier League goals already, and that was mostly for West Brom. He comes back into the league, winning the league title in Serie A. We're knowing that at a big club like Manchester United, where he was at before, he didn't exactly hit the ground running. Is that a fear for you that it might take him time to get back into the flow of the Premier League?
I don't think he's got the time to. I don't think not only will Chelsea fans not allow him, I don't think rivals will allow him that time, really. Because the one thing I would say with Lukaku is that the one excuse he can't use is needing to adapt. He's been here, he played for West Brom, he played under Everton, Man United, and he played in them teams scoring a lot of goals as well. All right, he was still very raw and he had a bad touch, and sometimes he went missing in the big games, or whatever the excuse was that someone would find out. And to be fair, I was one of them to a degree, because I didn't think he had it in him to do what he's doing now. No, I think I think he comes in. I think he has to get firing. He's been bought for a lot of money. Yes, there's pressure there for him to do that, but at the end of the day, he just needs to carry his levels of performances that he did have at Inter, at Chelsea, and if anything, it should be easier for him in a way. All right, if you're forgetting the mental aspects of it, if you look at the players that he's got around him, the players that can create for him, I think Reece James is going to love having a Lukaku up front, because now when we whip balls in, we're actually going to have someone that can blimmin' throw the body at it or try and get at the end of it. Before we had Timo Werner trying to do headers against Van Dijk or something, do you know what I mean? Or Diaz, and it's like, it just didn't work. And Reece James is a quality crosser, but he just needs someone at the end of it, and I think there's a lot of players in the team that are going to benefit from the arrival of him. Yes, there's that that slight unfortunate chance that he might not hit the levels that he did at Inter Milan. But to be honest, we've had that problem since Diego Costa. We struggle with strikers. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's a voodoo around the stadium or with that number 9 shirt. But ever since we gave the number 9 shirt to a centre back, Belarus, a long time ago, and it came back off him, it's been a curse. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything behind. You had a defender running around with a number 9 shirt and he's playing as your centre back. Like, where's your logic in this? You know what I mean? Like, and since that, it's not been the same. So I hope, fingers crossed, he is the answer since Diego Costa, man.
That's a throwback. I completely forgot about Belarus. It's like giving the number 7 shirt to Antonio Valencia. I mean, no number 7 really hit the heights since then, have they?
You didn't have to do that. It was a right winger at least. He was a right winger.
Hey, bro, I'm sending shots. At least 14 in Arsenal's been recharged to a degree.
Wait. Hold on. What number did you give William Gallas?
Shut up, bruv.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
We gave him number 10. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I try every day to forget about that, boy. League title is obviously what everybody's gonna be demanding from Chelsea now, considering that you just won the Champions League as well. So 97 million on Lukaku. I think pretty sure the window isn't completed for Chelsea yet, even though they have spent quite a bit of money on Lukaku. I think Koundé Koundé is still on the cards. Is a league title on the cards? Is that what you're expecting as a Chelsea fan, or is it a bit too soon for these players, even though they have just won the Champions League?
The only thing I would say is that we don't have the excuse anymore of not being able to compete. I think if you ask any Chelsea fan, the only one thing was missing last year, like I said, was just someone putting it, being on the end of them goals. So we've got that now, and I still think it falls down on Man City a little bit. I know they bought Grealish, but it's a little bit lost with the Grealish signing because he's a good player, and yes, he might elevate them in certain positions, but he's not a goal scorer, and that's something that they need. So I think it depends if they bring in a striker, then I think they run away with it. That's my honest opinion. I think they're a step ahead of us in that sense. But yeah, look, we have no excuse not to be up there. And when I mean being up there, we can't be any more than 6 to 7 points off the drift. Like, we have to be within the mix. You can't be 20 points off Man City, or 15 points or, anything like that. Then it's a failure. Then it's us just trying to fight to get back into the Champions League, which is something we was doing last year anyway without a striker. So is there an improvement on that basis? No. So we want to see an improvement. To say that we need to win it, I'm not going to do that, but at least be there. Do you know what I mean?
Kojo, same question.
I think they should be able to challenge now. I think Chelsea's squad is quite underrated. I think they have a good level of depth. In that defense, they have defenders that are capable to play in 5 at the back, /3 or 4 at the back, which I think Chelsea fans need to be they need to be have a lot more joy in, because I think the case is, if you want to play a 4-2-3-1, you've got Jorginho and Kante, obviously as a 2, but then behind them you can play Rudiger, you can play Thiago Silva, Koundé when he eventually joins. Cesar Piliqueta is very good as a centre back, also as a left back and a right back. Anyways, I used to call him the best defender in general in the Premier League, not just as right back or left back, whatever. Reece James, obviously, as you've mentioned as well. Ben Chilwell is a very good left back as well. I'm not sure what's happening with Alonso and Emerson. I feel like you're going to sell one of them, or maybe both. I don't know what the situation is.
One, I think a lot. Yeah, we'll keep one of them. I think,
Let's just hope not to Arsenal, please.
I mean, you are the retirement home, aren't you? So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
essentially,
That's why I worry.
But no, essentially, I think what's important is they have so many options. In midfield, you got Kovacic, you got Kante, you got Jorginho, you got Mason Mount, then you've got Havertz, and you've got Ziyech, and you've got Hudson-Odoi, then you've got Werner. Like, the names are just flowing off bit by bit. There's options for different formations. There's options for different styles of play. There's options for scoring different types of goals. I don't see any reason why they can't compete. Whether they'll win it or not is another question. Liverpool getting their players back, there will be questions. Will the players be able to come back from the injuries ready and firing and ready to go throughout the whole season? Man City are current champions. They have bought Jack Grealish as one signing. Will they add that striker? Man United have bought Varane and Sancho. They've got a bit more balance now, a better defender. Will they be ready? All the questions are there. But Chelsea are definitely in that discussion. And I think if they are in the discussion come March, and knowing Chelsea's history, regardless of manager, when it comes to big title challenges in March, going forward, they tend to come out better than everybody else. So I think I think if they're in this discussion by March time, there is a strong chance that Chelsea will end the season champions.
Minimum expected goals for Lukaku, considering the price is £97 million.
Ooh. I'll say 20 league goals. I think he's more than capable of scoring 20 league goals. That's, for me, that's something that he can do in his sleep. The question for me is his big game record. That's the only thing I think, not the only thing. A lot of people have issues with him regardless. They always have agendas and stuff. But his big game record in recent years hasn't been great. You can talk about United. Sometimes, in general, Man United were a mess anyway. It's not a Lukaku problem, but there were times when he had chances and he just fluffed his lines. It happens. Strikers miss chances. But when it comes to the big games, that's what you're judged on when you're a big-time player. Went to Inter Milan, didn't score in the biggest games either. Well, maybe not the winning or the important goal. He did score, but it wasn't like the game changer. So that was also a question about him. But at least he was getting goals in those games. So now that means something. So here, when he comes to Chelsea, in those big games, if he delivers in those big games, and knowing Lukaku, when he's on his game, he's actually untouchable. Back to goal, there's hardly anyone that's better at backing off against the defender, turning and shooting. And then in terms of the dreaded power and pace conversation, but he has that in abundance. If he wants to use his physicality, he can destroy defenders. And he has the ability to finish. He's very confident in front of goal. It's the big games. If he scores in big games, I have no worries about him in the so-called little games. But in the big games, if he's able to bag, that's when you're talking about 30 plus, because I feel like he's going to get 20, no problem. So I think he can get 20 plus, but the big games is the biggest question. And I think after the experience of Inter Milan and now becoming a league champion, I think that's going to be a bigger thing for him, and I feel like he's going to come on a different level of crowd this season.
Same to you, James.
Yeah, no, I just air what Kojo said, really. I think he's right. I think you have to go with, he has to get a minimum of 20 goals, in my eyes, between 18 and 20 goals in the Premier League. In all competitions, maybe another 10 on top of that. So, yeah, you're pushing close to the 30 mark in all competitions for him to be doing. And he can do that. He should be doing that. We will be creating. I think we will create enough for him to score that. And when I look back at what we done last season with Timo Werner missing nearly 24 or 25 big chances I'm talking about, you know, if that's Lukaku, I reckon he converts at least half of them, you know. Yep. So at the end of the day, I expect him to still have the same creativity around him. I think we will do that. We dominate games with a ball possession team. You know, we take control of games usually. So I think that will work in his favour. You know, there was questions about him playing against a low block. I think I agree with Kojo. I think his physicality, being able to just turn and run at people and literally just floor them as he's running, literally walk through them, like is a talent in itself. And it's when you look at him like that, he's made for Chelsea, right? Because when you look at the best strikers Chelsea have had, Diego Costa was the same, wasn't he? He was a brick, you know. He used to take them all on his own up there, didn't he? Holding the ball up and whatever. And then you look at Drogba, for example, he's another one, wasn't he? Just bully centre backs for fun. So he definitely fits the whole what Chelsea are doing. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
There's a question from Big Ron, which is I think a fair comment. A question in your midfield. Obviously, Kante is without doubt one of the best in the Premier League, but is the person partnering him? Yes, Jorginho scored, I think like 7 goals for Chelsea last year. Was your top scorer, in fact. But is it a case where his style doesn't exactly quite fit the Premier League, and that is probably where your opponents will mostly. Cheer up! You throw me off there. Cheer up, Cahill. Where your opponents will mostly target.
Is that in terms of Jorginho you're talking about? Yeah, not. People know my thoughts on Jorginho quite well. I've not always been his massive fan. I've actually criticised him quite a lot. I think if he gets turned, he's vulnerable because he's not got the recovery speed to be able to recover like a Kante. With a Jorginho, he has to have a lot of the ball. You need to make sure that he's constantly on the ball, moving it with the ball at his feet, controlling the speed of the game. That's what he's the best at doing, right? Keeping the ball moving, tempo going. I still question mark his progressive passing. Being able to pick the ball up and just play it quickly over the top. He's done it in short flashes. When I think back last season, he'd done that nice little dink over the top to Tammy Abraham for the goal against Wolves, I think it was. He doesn't do that enough. Sometimes with Jorginho, I feel like he's very reserved in himself. Like he will do the easy pass because it's easier to do and it's natural for him rather than get the ball and think, hang on, Lukaku's making a run there. Let me just play that like 25 Cesc Fabregas style ball over the top. Do you know what I mean? Which sometimes you need to do. You can't always consider just keep moving the ball around. And do you know what I mean? So yeah, and then you've got on the flip side, you've got someone like Kovacic who, when it comes to breaking through the lines, is probably our best. With the ball at his feet, he can literally with his speed, break through through a midfield quite easily. The problem with him is that when he gets to that position, it's then playing that perfect final ball. He always overplays it, or he makes the wrong pass, and it's just his decision making that lets him down in the final third. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of talks that Chelsea should get a central midfielder anyway, because 3's not enough. I don't think Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic is enough, because we know Kante gets injured, Kovacic has picked up injuries here and there. But this is why Koundé is important, because what he does bring, if we do sign him, is versatility. The guy can play across the back. He can actually play as a DM as well with the ball at his feet. He's very good progressively with the ball as well. And people don't realise how talented the boy is, really. And I think he could be used in different ways. But yeah, no way. I think to start the season, it would probably be Kante and Jorginho, I think.
Who you going up against? Who you targeting, Kojo? If you're managing one of the Premier League sides, because Chelsea do look really formidable now. You can't deny it. We're considered they've won the Champions League. They've got that winning mentality embodied in them right now. I feel like they're going to have confidence above the most confidence out of everybody in the league this year.
Oh well, that's the question. I mean, if it was maybe like a 4-3-3 and Kante was a lone defensive midfielder, he's the one I target, but not in the sense of going at him. He's someone that has to chase. So when he chases, he always leave a space behind. But because he's so elite at it, you're going to need someone to maybe do a quick 1-2, 1-2-3 with. I don't know, it depends on how many players you want to bring backing up with you against Kante. Jorginho would be the so-called weaker option. I think he reads the game well, but obviously when it comes to a situation where he has to do chasing, he's not the guy to chase. He hasn't got the speed, he hasn't got the agility to catch up and turn and then catch up to someone. So he would be the weaker link. I just think what's important for Chelsea right now is when they play two in the middle, whether it be Kante, Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, they've got three different players. They've got three different options. You got Kante, who by the way, very underrated on the ball, extremely underrated. He can ping passes now. Never now, he's been doing that for a while, but he can ping passes, he can drive with the ball forward. Kovacic is a lot more of a comfortable dribbler. He can beat players, go on the dribble, advance the ball forward a little bit. Defensively, Kovacic not as great. Kante, excellent, no questions about him. Jorginho, when he reads the game and he's able to intercept, there's hardly anyone better in the game at him than at doing that. So when you're talking about targeting someone, I don't know. I genuinely don't know who you target. I think as a manager, whoever they're playing against, especially if it's someone that they're going to be competing against in terms of league position, they need to just try to make it a game where they control the game and Chelsea are forced to play to stop them rather than allowing Chelsea to play in their style. Because if Chelsea get the hold of the game with the kind of options they have, then you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. You're going to hope that they don't take chances. I can, like being a United fan, I can talk about a time where I think we beat them 4-0. But even in that 4-0, in that first half, Chelsea were all over Man United.
Yeah, we dominated it. Yeah.
Tammy hit the post. They were missing chances here and there. And it was like, this is not a 4-0 game. The scoreline may suggest that. So it will be the correct scoreline because United scored the goals. But if you look at the overall aspect of the game, Chelsea in control. And bear in mind, this is Lampard time. This isn't Tuchel time. Time.
Yeah.
The way they were controlling that game for the first 45 minutes, they could have been 3-0 up at half time. They could have ran the game straight. So it just becomes a thing where I don't think you target one specific player unless throughout the season, as you get to that game, you can see that they are a weakness in that Chelsea team. Unless that situation arises, I think you just got to try and play the game to your style,
strengths,
to your speed, to your tempo. Yeah. Otherwise, you're in for a wall of pain.
I think Tuchel's made it hard though, Kojo. Do you know what I mean? Because last season he because we rotate so much, you kind of you don't know who's going to be playing up front. You don't know who's going to, if it's going to be a Pulisic or a Ziyech, or is it going to be a Werner leading the line, or is Havertz going to be a false nine? And that confused the hell out of managers, I think. And if you look at what we've done to Man City, beating them back to back under Tuchel 3 times in a row, that says it all for me, And I think even if Pep's struggling to understand how to play against us, then we must be doing something right. And I think it's the guessing, it's not understanding what we're going to do, in many ways. And I think, like you said, the only way you play up against Chelsea under the Tuchel is making sure that you do your things right and you play to your strengths. If you worry about us too much having the ball, then I think you're just going to set yourself up for failure, really, because you're not going to get the ball off us, in many ways. So it is what it is.
Minimum expectations for Chelsea this season.
Well, they've got to get Champions League, haven't they? And I don't even think I can say top 4, can I? Because that's just failure, isn't it? Really, they need to be. I was going to say fourth. I was like, I can't say fourth, can I? Blimey now. They need to be second. Do you know what it is? I don't understand what Liverpool are going to turn back up. That's my biggest problem, because they've got Van Dijk back now as well. I know it's
fine.
I know it's going to elevate, though. But if he comes back and he's not the same, then I'm seeing Liverpool struggling. So I would say we got to be top 2. We've got to be top 2. And I think Man United. I know people don't like talking about Man United, especially Man United fans specifically. But I think you guys have got to be in the mix. There's no excuse for you guys. Anything you have as an excuse is your manager. That's it. The squad's good enough, So top 2, top 3 for us.
You want a trophy, or is the Champions League's fine for now?
Nah, as a Chelsea fan, you always want trophies, guys. You never get too starved of that. You know what I mean? We always want something. I mean, defending the Champions League is going to be hard. I don't think we'd do it back to back. I just don't see that happening. But Premier League would be great. If we finish second and we won an FA Cup, I'd be all right with it. I would be cool with it, providing we was 3, 4, 5 points off the top against a very good Man City team that had, a striker maybe as well. So we'll see.
I miss the days when 4th was failure, but hey, I'm sitting in 8th, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh no!
So what's an achievement for Arsenal now?
I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. Don't worry. But that's all. If we're gonna have to speak about Arsenal, because we're gonna move straight on to predictions for Premier League games, and it starts, of course, with Arsenal against Brentford on Friday at 8:00. It's at Brentford. Obviously, Brentford are they play a certain style of football, which is very attractive to those their fans, and I imagine lots of the Premier League will enjoy them. Is it a simple case of they are going to embarrass Arsenal off the park, or the occasion might just get to them?
I think it's why you say it can go both ways, but I think Brentford are super excited to be in the Premier League. I think we have to recognize firstly about their journey is in the Championship. It's not a 1 year thing where they've been balling 9 and they got promoted. They have played so well over the last 2-3 years, but just not made that step. They've always got so close and then just missed out. But now they've made it. They've made it and they're ready to go. And they've got good players. Obviously, Tony will be the standout option. But, someone like David Raya is a very good goalkeeper as well. They've got good players. I think what's dangerous for Arsenal in this scenario is
the fact that we haven't won a preseason game.
Oh yeah, you got done by both London teams, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
You
I
got
didn't
done by
forget.
Hibernian. I don't care about the London teams. The London teams can give a shit about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a big worry though. That is a big worry. And when you talk about the most recent game against Spurs, I know it's a friendly. The Mind series doesn't really mean anything in general, but the level of performance just wasn't good enough, and especially the defending again was not good enough. So against a team like Brentford, who are very good in possession, they're very aggressive going forward. They've got very good options. The Silva, I don't know butcher his name, but it might be Brian Wembo. I might be saying that wrong. I hope I'm saying that right. And then you've got obviously Ivan Antonio.
African, bruv. You should be getting it right.
Well, sometimes it don't work like that, fam. So. But no, they're good players, man. They're good players, and they've got a good team. Thomas Frank is a good manager. He's a very good manager. So I'm interested to see how Arsenal adapt to this challenge. Arsenal have good players in there. There's no doubt about that. The squad is good in terms of talent, but the questions are always about concentration and all that. When you got a team that's newly promoted to the Premier League and they really are desperate to show themselves, I think you could be in for a world of pain on Friday night as well. And Arsenal do not want to start the season with a loss. You don't want to do that. I don't know.
Jem, Ivan Toney, obviously a striker that's very much in form in the Championship. Do you think he'll be able to adapt to the Premier League? And if you say yes, how many goals do you expect him to get this season?
I think it could be the same case of Tammy Abraham, right? Where he smashed it in the Championship, comes over, scores goals here and there, but I don't think it will be at the same level as what he's doing across there. I think he's a very good player, but it's a massive step, isn't it, from what you call the Championship to the Premiership, you know, and a different kind of test for him. And look, I think he'll be their top goal scorer. I think he's still their best player. I think he will score anything in the regions of 10 to 14 goals. I reckon. I think he will, provided he stays fit and he's playing. And yeah, I think you will see. It's always interesting to see when you see a newbie come up, because you never really know how they're going to react. Do you? Is it either going to be like an absolute flop where they're like 20th from the beginning of the first game to the end, where they just are that bad, or all of a sudden they're in blimmin' 7th above Arsenal or something? Do you know what I mean? Or 6th. But it's going to be an interesting game, because I don't think anyone's scared of Arsenal anymore. I think that's been not been the case for a very long time. And even a team like Brentford, who's coming up from the Championship, will look at Arsenal and go, well, but we can beat them. I don't feel like they go there thinking, I'm scared if we don't do this and that. I think they just go and play. If they play their game, take it to you guys, then they could give you problems. But at the same time, Arsenal turn up on their day. They're unstoppable themselves sometimes, but they just don't have enough of them days, as you probably know, Kale. Do you know what I mean? So it's just that's the problem, isn't it? So I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to be a draw. I'm just going to be honest.
Okay. When did Brentford get Christophe Ayer?
They got him like last week or so. Oh no, 2 weeks ago. He played the friendly recently as well. But according to someone that went to the game, it was a terrible show of face from him. So
was it?
Yeah.
Oh man. I think he'll come good. I do like him. He's a very versatile defender. So I think he'll come good. I think he'll do well. We'll move on to your club, Coach. Manchester United versus Leeds United. Obviously, a massive showing for your new shiny signing in Jadon Sancho. I imagine he will get the start above who's on your right. Nobody's on your right, so I imagine he'll get the start. I mean, it's a tough game. Marco Bielsa's no mug. Done well with Leeds. Played his style throughout the season. Managed to be comfortable in surviving. Is it about survival this season for Leeds, or is it about trying to break top 10?
Yeah, I think they're going to try and progress. I don't think Bielsa is someone that literally sits on his laurels and says, "Okay, we've done this and let's do this again." He's not someone that likes to just sort of relax. And the signings they've made, kind of, so they got Lewis Pitt from Chelsea. I didn't even know that, but Junior Firpo is a good signing from Barcelona, so that shows up the defensive left back. Yeah, it's a good signing at left back, and obviously they made Jack Harrison permanent from City, someone that's integrated into the team all long, and he's a good player. I think what's important for Leeds this year is, one, they don't drop their philosophy. I think the philosophy works for the team, works for the squad. More importantly, it works for Bielsa. And Bielsa is a genius in getting these players to work to his style. It suits all of them. The signings he makes sense because it suits their style of play also, so they can progress. I just think they finished, what was it, maybe 13th or something? I might be wrong. I can't remember where they finished.
Yeah, I think 13th. Yeah, I think Villa finished 12th. Yeah.
Yeah. So regardless, I think I'd say anywhere between 9th and 12th would be a good season for them. I don't expect them to put up trees. I just think they need to solidify themselves a bit more. But then again, they do have the talent to maybe push for something. I mean, look, you compare their squad to maybe West Ham. West Ham have a good squad as well, but their squad is very, very small. But they were able to get the most out of it and secure a place in the Europa League. I'm not saying Leeds will do that, but who's to say they cannot do that? That's what the Premier League is about. So they've got a good squad, made good signings. It'll be very interesting to see if how they turn up. And as Big Ron has literally just said, they will be super fit. If there's one thing Bielsa's good at, he's making sure his players are ready. I'm not sure about United and trouble and not much of a preseason. No excuses for them. They need to turn up. That's as simple as it gets. But for Leeds, they're always ready, and Bielsa makes sure of that. So,
well, you brought up Big Ron's comment. Let's bring up the United ways comment there, because it's a pretty tasty one, especially for the Chelsea fan in the room. They think they're gonna win the league and they're gonna beat you guys. Obviously, Manchester United have gone under the radar in terms of signings, but £70 million spent on Jadon Sancho, 35 million on Varane. I imagine there's a few more to come as well. So they also spent a lot of money. What do you expect from this Manchester United side? And if they are going to challenge, what will be their main threats? Or who will be their main threats?
For me, they've signed one of the best attacking players in European football at the moment in Sancho. I think he's been doing bits since he's been over at Dortmund. Listen, I think Man United from 1 to 11 have one of the best, starting lineups going. When you look at the experience in the team, having Varane, having the Varane back in, at centre back next to a Maguire, just makes him even stronger at the back. I actually think it allows Ollie to adapt to maybe something a little bit different. I don't think you need to have a McFred as much in games anymore. I think the reason you had a McFred more in games was to protect the vulnerability at the back. And I think with a Varane and a Maguire, that could potentially be one of the best partnerships in the Premier League this season.
Try telling that to Ollie.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? AWB, we know he can defend. All right, he's not the greatest going forward, but he can defend. Luke Shaw was the best left back in the Premier League last season by far, so I expect him. I set high level with Luke Shaw now because he set them bars, didn't he? He set them bars, so he's got to continue it through. I just really think it falls down to the manager, and again, I think that's the only thing that might be limiting you guys. It's what decisions Ollie make, tactic-wise, who he puts on the pitch. Looks like you've managed to keep Paul Pogba as well for me, who is going to be a massive player for you guys this season. And with Sancho, Rashford's going to be out for a while, isn't he? I believe he's at
3 months, something like that.
Probably till about October.
Yeah, so there's maybe an opportunity for Martial, who's been very quiet, not been playing a lot, to come back, and who knows how he turns up. But the one thing you have got, which I think is very important, is you've got I would say a world-class striker. All right, he's old, but when you look at Cavani and the type of player he is, there's not many players that can move the way he does and make that step or that movement before the ball's even kicked. Like, he will put himself in a position before Bruno Fernandes even whips that ball in. And that for me is of a striker that's got quality. And that's what Martial didn't have, because when you had Martial up front, it was very hard to ask him to do that, because it just wasn't in his game. He wanted ball to feet, and he likes to drive with the ball. He doesn't want to make them runs to the near post and back post and guess where he thinks the ball's going to be. And I think Cavani's important. Bruno Fernandes is going to have to have another big season for you guys, and you can compete. I don't see how you don't. The only reason you don't is because of Ollie, and that's it.
I mean, firstly, on the McTominay and Fred thing, I refuse to call them McFred. You give nicknames to people you're affectionate about, and I'm not affectionate about. But it's funny because we talk about protecting the vulnerability at the back, and they were the vulnerable ones. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a bit of, it was a bit. But no, honestly, on a serious level, I do agree. I think I still want a bit more depth in the club, and I recognize that's not going to be happening this summer. You're not going to get a whole new bench of better backup players than what you currently have. But I do agree, if the first 11 if the first strongest 11 stays fit, but there's a good rotation within the team, United have no reason not to compete. Look, this is a team that's been to they went to 4 semi-finals, they lost them in a row. So there was obviously the ability to eventually get to a final. They went to a final, and then they fumbled the bag in that as well. So now the pressure's on, and this is where I really put pressure on managers. I always say I give managers 3 years. Yeah, sometimes people like Tuchel who comes in and wins the title it's a Champions League in his first season. It's not even a full season. In his first season, he does it. Wenger in his first full season won the Premier League.
I mean, so did Roberto Di Matteo's, but
he did. What I'm saying. It happens. And sometimes after that, you fumble the
bag.
That
was a fluke. I'm not going to lie about
it. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes you completely fail. It's what happens in football, isn't it? But I, in general, like to give managers 3 years, and I say, this is your team, and now, what are you going to do with your team to up your levels? Man United fans are always talking about progress this, progress that. You're telling me about progress, third, second, what comes next? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You have to challenge. You have to challenge well. You can't go to January again, top of the table, have your fans singing, what would it be, 21 and 22, and then absolutely nothing with it. You have to really, and this is where the pressure is really on Ole, and I think he knows it because, if you look at the signings he's brought in as well since he became manager from interim to full-time, Maguire came under his management, Wan-Bissaka came under his management, Bruno Fernandes, and then obviously the current two, and Tom Heaton, for anyone that really cares about that. So,
your best goalkeeper.
Yeah, elite goalkeeper. You need to head us in the hair when you got Heaton. So, look, I think the pressure is on. There's no more excuses. You have a lot more options in the team now. Make more changes, improve on what you didn't do well last year, and let's see what you're made of. It's a cutthroat business. If he does the job, great. If he doesn't,
do you see Donny actually getting some more games? Do you think he's still going to be sitting on the bench?
I think he'll get a bit more games, and I say a bit. I won't say a lot more. I'll say a bit more because I don't think Ole has the full confidence in him yet. A lot of United fans are getting excited about the fact that he's bulked up because apparently he has to bulk up to do well in the Premier League. David Silva looked like he never went to the gym once, but he was one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. So it's not about bulking up, it's about adapting to the game. If he's adapted to the game now, in the English game, and he's more suitable towards the game, then we'll see a better Donny van de Beek. So let's see what he does. I think last year, I think he was a bit unlucky. Ole didn't give him enough game time for me. I think there was a lot of games where he could have given him opportunity, and he didn't. And I didn't agree with that. I think if we use Bruno Fernandes, for example, who should have been resting quite a lot more, but I understand his importance to the team. This is a big year for Donny, and I think now it's a case of when you play, you must impress. It can't be United fans saying, "Oh, well, he hasn't played this, he hasn't played that." You have to prove the point. You have to prove a point. Same thing you said about Martial. The reason why Man United fans are so indifferent about Martial is because Cavani was doing what he doesn't. So it's also a big year for him. So Donny needs to step up this year, and I hope he does because I do like the player. I have a lot of confidence in him.
Chelsea are facing Crystal Palace. Now, it seems like a very easy game, but it may be a bit tricky considering Crystal Palace have a few good players and they have a new manager. So what's the expectation for this game? Is it an easy win or do you expect a bit of trouble?
Listen, look, we're at home. There's no, you can't sit here and say, "Oh, we got to win," haven't we? I think it's important that you have a good start, and I don't see it anything other than us winning maybe a 2-0, and I think Lukaku starts. I think you start to see, you'll start to see how because there's a lot of especially for us, there's been a lot of players that have still not even had a pre-season, and just got back, and it's like we're coming into the game with the Premier League now, like Jorginho's, Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell's all right, they didn't play. Reece James is like, these guys ain't even been playing any football whatsoever, so Chelsea have got a good enough squad that to beat a Palace. They've got the depth to be able to accommodate places here and there, and we've not looked too bad over pre-season. I'm not going to lie, we've obviously beaten both Arsenal and Tottenham. On top of that, we've got a massive Super Cup game on Wednesday against Villarreal, which we need to we need to be ready for. So we don't want to do a Man United and fall in our asses. So. That could happen, but
you didn't have to phrase it like that, man. You didn't have to phrase it like that,
man. It was there. It was there. I had to let it out. But listen, look, we should be there or thereabouts after that. It's going to be it's a competitive game as well. Wednesday, we want to win. Could be our first bit of trophy, a bit of silverware for the season as well. So, yeah, I expect us to win 2-0.
Am I back? I don't know. I think I've been messing about. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Kojo, Crystal Palace, obviously the new manager, Patrick Vieira, someone who has a deep place in my heart. Is it a job too far for him, considering that Crystal Palace have lost a lot of their players on free transfers as well? Or are you seeing good things that are coming his way, especially with some of the signs that he's been making?
Yeah, I think his signings have been smart. I think that's the most important thing that we have to mention about Patrick Vieira. Look, they've lost Hennessy, Townsend, who else we got here? Sacco, Van Aanholt, Gary Cahill. There's experience. Basically. If I talk about how I feel about people like Mamadou Sakho, we're here for a long time. There's nothing to really say about that. But Michael Elise from Reading is a good signing. Mark Gehi, is that you say his name? The guy signed from Chelsea.
Yeah.
I haven't seen much of him, so I can't really comment on him. But I've seen people say good things from Chelsea fans. I've seen good things said about him.
He's a good player, yeah, he is.
That could be a good signing. Joachim Andersen, we saw him last season for Fulham, was a standout. And it was a standout in terms of being best of a bad bunch. He was actually really good for them. Just obviously they weren't good enough to stay up. So he's a signing, and it's a good signing at that. Conor Gallagher is a good signing as well. And Nathaniel Klein's one I didn't know. I just saw that it's nuts. I didn't know they signed him on a free transfer. I think that's smart. I think you've signed a mixture of youth and experience. People that have played in this league, people that are going to be new to the league, but they're exciting. So I think what he's trying to do is keep it that culture. You had Zaha and what's the other young man's name that plays for Crystal Palace, the young strike winger? Eze, doing things.
He's injured, isn't he?
Yeah. Exciting for Palace last year. So you've got that option, and now you've got Elise as well. So now you've got 3 players. I think Elise is a winger as well, but I think you've got players that can actually play as one can play as a 10, one can play on the left, one can play on the right. You've got fluidity, I think is the best word for me to use in that team. And Anderson is a very good centre back. Nathaniel Klein didn't have the best time at Liverpool, but regardless, that's a player that has some pedigree in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Southampton, Liverpool. It's not a bad signing at all. And I think once he gets back on his feet, playing a lot more regular football, you'll see the player that we were impressed with at Southampton before he went to Liverpool. So I think good things are ahead for Crystal Palace. I think Chelsea will still beat them. I do expect Chelsea to beat them, but it wouldn't surprise me if Palace come out showing that they can give a bit of trouble to some teams in the future, because they will create chances with those kind of players going forward, minus Jordan Ayew. I say that with a reason. Minus him, I think they can. I think they can cause a lot of problems. So, yeah, I think, and I'm excited to see Vieira. I'm very excited to see Vieira as a manager. I didn't really pay much attention to him in France as a manager, so I don't know his sort of style of play and all that. But
I mean, to answer Big Ron's question, he finished. He's like 4 points off top 4 with Nice.
Good.
And they fired him. So. Big Ron. Let's not talk about Arsenal legends, because I can speak about some Manchester United ones who are turning managers.
Wait, hold on. Laurent Blanc won a League bro. So
bro. Unlimited funds. Come on now.
I don't care. Agenda's agenda. You got to drop the agenda right now with your Galas number 10 and all them things there. You gotta slow it down.
Yeah, all right then.
I'm not here to make sense. I'm just here to talk crud.
We'll move on to Leicester City. They face Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves with their new manager. Leicester obviously coming off the back of beating Manchester City in the Community Shield. Jem, What's the expectation for Leicester City this year? Is it a simple case of now is the time to progress in the league and finally get that top 4 spot, which has always been theirs? They just completely fumbled the bag the last few games.
Yeah, I think they've over exceeded what people thought they would do. I think them getting even to the end of last season, potentially getting in the Champions League, and I know people say they bottled it, Brendan Rodgers bottler and all this stuff, but he what they've got going there works for him, and it's worked so well. And even like, the signing for me of Patson Daka is going to be the interesting thing, because he's a player that scored a lot of goals, so, and I think he could I think Vardy's good, but Vardy's getting old, man. Do you know what I mean? It's getting to that point where it's like, all right, who's going to step up? Who's going to be the next person to lead Leicester going in and keep this going? And I think Patson Daka, I think he can, after watching him in glimpses, because I don't watch too much out of it across Europe, but watching him in glimpses has the potential to be a very good player. There's also the thing with Maddison and Arsenal, which will be very interesting, because if he does leave, then that will definitely weaken them, I think, in my honest opinion. If they keep him, then they have a good enough squad next season to go again and be a problem, and that's what they are for me. They're just a problem, when you come up against them away, even at home, they give you some hard games, and I expect them to be there or thereabouts. Obviously, they've got the Europa Conference football as well, haven't they, this year as well, which is like the new tournament to play in. Yeah.
Let's have Europa League. Yeah,
Europa League. Yeah.
Tottenham got Europa.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So they've got Europa League. So it's going to be. I think they'll do all right, Leicester. I'm waiting for them to I don't know about you guys, but I'm waiting for them to just drop off. Like that big drop off from what they did the season before. But they're just not fucking off. They're always there, and it's like it's doing my head in, bro. Like, why is Leicester taking one of these top 4 spots the whole season? It don't make sense. Like, get out of there. You're not meant to be there. Get a bit further down the table. But they've got a decent manager, and they've got a project that works there. The way they bring players in, the way they target their players, they get their transfers done pretty well. And on top of that, they sell their players for a blooming lot of money as well, and get a lot of money for them. So they're a well-run club, is what I'd say.
I mean, you say, why can't Leicester F off? But it's a simple case. They won the league a few years ago. So if there's any team that should F off, it should be Spurs. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about them in a minute. Wolverhampton Wanderers, obviously, once again, new manager is in. I'm even going to attempt to say that, guys. Bruno Miguel Silva Donascimento. That's his name, boy. That's a name and a half. I got to respect it. But a lot of changes are happening at Wolves. They've lost their goalkeeper, what's his name? Rui Patricio. He's a very good goalkeeper, very underrated at Wolves. But they've replaced him with Jose Sá, another Portuguese player. What a surprise! It's going to be a real weird season for Wolves. The first time they're in the Premier League without Nuno. Raul Jimenez is back, but is he going to be the same player as he was before the head break? What's the expectation for Wolves, Kojo? Is it survival because they didn't exactly impress everybody else like they have been doing previous 2 years out of 3?
Yeah, because they've got good players going forward, but I've never bought into that defense. I don't have faith in Conor Cody. I don't have faith in Willy Boley. I don't have faith in Nelson Semedo. Someone like Ruben Neves and João Moutinho, these are good players. They signed Trincao, another Portuguese player. There you go.
Surprise.
Surprise. But he's a good player. And that's what I'm saying. You add good players going forward. I mean, I think Raul Jimenez is obviously a big boost. He's been able to play preseason as well. So it means he's been ready for the season, ready to go. I don't know what his condition is when it comes to taking headers, though. And that's a big part of his game. I don't want to say anything because I genuinely don't know what it is. I know he's been playing games. I know he's been looking fit. He's been looking well. He's got a smile on his face. He's ready to go.
I mean, even if he is cleared to head the ball, it's the trepidation, it's the fear that's going to go and be in the back of his mind of why should I challenge for this?
I honestly don't know what expectation I've put on Wolves because they should be staying up. If I had to predict a team to go down, they wouldn't be one of my three, if I'm being honest. But then I don't look at the squad and say this is a team that should be competing to be 10th and above. So they're kind of like in the middle, purgatory, if you will. Just sort of in the mix, but you'll notice them and they'll be like, oh, they're very close to the relegation zone, but then 2 or 3 games later they'll be fine again. Nothing will happen. I don't know if one day signings are improvements on what they've got. Trincao is a good player, but I don't know if he's an improvement on your Neto or your Adama Traore. And then Sarr, is he a better goalkeeper than Patricio? I haven't seen enough of Sarr to say yes or no, but knowing how good Patricio is, I doubt it. I don't know. I just don't expect much of them. I don't think they'll go down, but I don't think they'll improve much on last season. So for me, they are, they're thereabouts. They're thereabouts. I don't see
there and thereabouts. Norwich City returned to the Premier League after, was it like a season out as well?
I think,
yeah.
They face Liverpool at Carrow Road. Liverpool. I mean, we don't know, and that seems to be the question surrounding Liverpool. We just don't know what's going to happen. Is Mane going to show the form that he's been showing recently, or is he going to recapture what we know him for? Salah. I think the only certainty is that Salah's going to score a shitload of goals. Yeah. That's the only certainty, because Alisson had a bad season, Trent had a bad season, Robertson had a bad season. A whole bunch of these players had really bad seasons, and it seemed like Jurgen Klopp's system of just overworking these men, it just completely fumbled, because they just scraped top four. So what do you expect for Liverpool? Is it a resurgence? Because like you did say, Van Dijk is back, so we never know. Once again, you never know. Van Dijk is back. Is it they're going to challenge for a title, or is it, can we just scrape top four this season?
I think the biggest mistake that they've made, and even now, is that when they won it, they never strengthened. They never really had added squad depth. They just thought that they were going to continue in their own little fairyland of going into next season and not get any injuries, and everyone will be fit and we'll continue playing like this and we'll get away with it. And the truth to be told is that eventually every good team gets found out. You learn how to adapt to them, you learn how to play against them, and yes, they were missing important players, but I still think Klopp was very naive in certain games last season by playing, when you had the likes of Kabak and Fabinho playing centre-backs, playing high lines and things like, and playing the same formations. And, yes, they missed Van Dijk, and I get he's a massive player, but they still had Salah and Mane. What happened to Mane last season? What was his excuse? Because nothing changed much for him, and he was in and out in patches. If they didn't have Salah scoring in the games that they did and winning them games, which is why I say he's more important than Steven Gerrard to them. That's my opinion, because he won them things. Yeah, then they wouldn't be where they was, And well, think about it. You've got a player that actually contributes to goals and wins you things. Yeah, he's won you things in the past, and then you've got a guy that slips against Chelsea and Demba Ba scores, and then all of a sudden he's our best ever player ever. For what reason? What's he done? So that's another story for another day. But there's a truth to it, isn't there? There's a little bit of truth in what I'm saying. Think about it.
Are you still salty? He never came Chelsea. I feel there's a bit of salt.
Do you know what? He would never have been the player he is if he didn't leave. And the same for De Bruyne. Progression's important for players. Progression is so important for players. And look, going back, because I've just got off target talking about Gerrard and Salah, but they haven't strengthened their squad again. What if 10 games in, Van Dijk pulls up again and he's out for 2 months? They're back to square one again. What if Salah gets injured? He gets quite a serious injury and he's out. Who comes in and replaces them with them goals? Who? Because I know Firmino goals can't do it. Let's just be serious. He's not contributing, is he? What, Origi? Is he coming on to save the day, or Shaqiri? Like they haven't. I know Jota. Don't get me wrong. Jota was a good signing. Jota was a good signing for them, and he, along with Salah, was important last season. Can he continue elevating them and elevating the levels that he did last season? I don't know. I look at Liverpool and they're just one big if and but. I just don't know. They could easily, wouldn't surprise me if they were like 5th like because they hadn't strengthened. They just hadn't strengthened, and I think they get found out. I think teams get found out after a while. If you don't learn to adapt different styles of football, different type of players, you end up getting found out after a while. And I just feel like they've done it again going into this season.
I think you've triggered my boy.
Salah or Gerrard?
Oh my goodness!
Salah or Gerrard, Kojo?
Gerrard, isn't it? But it is what it is.
But honestly, Kojo, think about it. Who's done more for their club?
No, I see the point you're trying to make in terms of so they've both won Champions League. I think they were both as key to the clubs as they were. But I think when you talk about the Premier League, Salah was there from the start to finish, and he did finish with that league.
But overall, he's the more important player, then, isn't it? Because even though they won the Champions League,
I still don't know. I don't know.
Why? Can I just do? And it's not just Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool fans. We all just get attached to our emotions on individual players rather than just saying it as you see it. And the truth is, the facts say that Salah has done more for Liverpool than what Steven Gerrard has. Let's be serious. I don't know why they get so wound up about it. But anyway,
let's talk about Norwich. They come up again. Let's see. Well, there's Daniel Farke is still the boss. Timo Pukki is still their main striker. So it might seem like they haven't learned their lessons from before. You triggered them.
But that's what they need to do.
I mean, is Norwich going to be safe this season? I think the loan sign of Billy Gilmore is quite impressive. Let's see but he is very young. But let's see what the young kid can do, in my opinion. But what do you think Norwich are going to do? Are they going to upset? I swear they played in first game of the season. They come up as well, and they beat them, right?
I think so. You might be right. Yeah.
So yeah, my history may repeat itself. No.
No. No. Liverpool are beating them. I have no doubt about that, and I have no doubt in saying Norwich are going to go back down again. Norwich might become the new West Brom, the yo-yo club. That's my take on that. I don't know what to say about them, really, to be honest. I don't expect much from them either. I generally see another relegation battle. I generally see them going down. They will be one of my 3 to go down. Not that I don't think Daniel Farke is a decent manager. I think he's all right, but I don't think he has the minerals to keep them going in the Premier League. I just don't think he has it. Timo Pukki had a good year in his first proper season in the Premier League. He actually had a good year, to be fair to him, but I just don't think they have what it takes to stay in the Premier League. So Liverpool, that's the one. WD said that they beat them 4-1, but no, good that day. Yeah, they looked very good that day. To be fair to them at Anfield, I remember that they did look very well, very good. But they can. This is the thing about football. You know me. I don't buy into that romanticism of the pretty football, and that's why they might look good and they'll stay up. Listen, you play pretty football, you still got hit for 4. And the goals they conceded, Liverpool are a quality side, but the goals they conceded were a joke. If I'm being honest, they were a complete and utter joke. So especially from a certain Grant Hanley defending. So me personally, I don't expect much. I see them going back down.
You hate that, brother.
From the first day he started the Premier League in 1920, I told you about. I said his name first. That was the first thing.
You hate that, brother. Oh my god.
You call it hate. I call it my truth. It is
observational. That's what
it's my observation of the guy, man. I just don't think he has the minerals either. So yeah, I think they're gonna go back down. And quickly on Liverpool. Liverpool are in a situation where they just need to be very careful about how they rotate this year. Van Dijk, first major injury. So let's see how he recovers from that. Joe Gomez, second major injury. Matip, injury prone. Konate is a good signing, but he's also injury prone as well. You don't want to get
it's not Upamecano either as well.
I really don't want to talk about Upamecano. Trust me. Trust me on that one. So, I think they need to be. And now Robertson has what looked like a disgusting injury. I don't know.
Against Bilbao?
Yeah, in the friendly. I don't know what that means for him. I don't know if it's a very serious one or if it's just like one that he's got away with. But it just means that they just have to rotate well this year. So we're gonna see what they do with the squad this year. I think rotation is the key for Liverpool, but as long as they have Salah, they'll win games. That's as simple as it gets. As long as they have Salah, they'll win games. So they just need to hope that Salah's back on his game as per usual. If he's not,
feed my agenda. Feed it.
I can't lie about Salah. He's incredible.
Oh crap, bro! Apparently Robertson's got ligament damage as well. So that's
wow.
He's out for
Who they got to come in as left back?
I do not know.
Oh yeah, that's it. They've got James Milner, haven't they? Yeah.
Hey, joking for trouble. They got Simicast. So there you go.
Come on, Pulisic, let's go.
Oh, bro, yeah, have a field day. The final game, or the biggest game of this weekend, Tottenham versus Manchester City. A baptism of fire for Nuno Espirito Santo as he takes his Tottenham side to his first game against the champions. It is at Spurs, but there is a whole bunch of crap happening at Spurs. They buy their players, and their star striker says he wants to leave, doesn't turn up for training. Now says he always wanted to turn up for training. It just didn't happen that way. The media is bullshit and it's all lies and it's smoke and mirrors. Everything's fine. Is that going to feed into this season for Spurs? Because we still don't know where Harry Kane is going to end up.
I think Spurs are in trouble. I think they're... Well, actually, I take that back because they signed Romero, didn't they? And he's a very good centre-back. The thing with Romero is that it's who he's got next to him. And they've got the fraud Eric Dyer playing next to him, who shouldn't even be a footballer. That ain't really elevating any level.
I feel like he's just crap.
It's just I don't know how whoever scouted him, who said he was a footballer, I don't know. They need to get sacked as well, because that was a shocking decision there. But listen, yeah, Romero's a good signing. If they pull off, if they do an undercut on Arsenal on what's his name as well,
Lautaro.
Yeah, Martinez. Which I don't see him. I don't know. I don't see Inter Milan selling both, but again, apparently they need money. So if he's going, and if he goes to them,
they're saying he's going to stay, but you never know.
Oh, he's going to stay. Yeah, well, you never know, because they said Lukaku was going to stay 3 weeks ago, and now he's on his way to Chelsea on a plane. So it is what it is. But they've got a good squad, but they need to keep Kane. And the problem with them though is that they're so reliant on Kane and Son for goals. So when they're not there, or one of them's injured, then I still just think they'll struggle. They've lost Lamela, haven't they? He's now gone as well. I know he wasn't playing much, but they've lost Lamela. They've got Bergwijn, who is big run, bro. Big run dropping bombs right now. Dropping them bombs. So, listen, I don't expect much from them. They lost Gareth Bale's gone back, isn't he, as well, to Real Madrid. So,
yeah,
are they really in a great position right now? All right, they'll hopefully still have a Harry Kane. Like, I don't know. Again, it's a question mark. We're yet to be seen. They have got a decent manager who will get them to play in a certain formation. I just don't know. Again, I look at their bench. There's nothing really there that's really threatening about Spurs, So we'll see.
Kojo City is a simple case of they get the 3 points on this day, and then they're straight back in the title contention.
It's a bit of a weird one. I think, firstly, they are going to be in title contention. That's regardless of this result, they will be in title contention. Even if they were to lose this game, it's the first game of the season. They can recover 3 points in the next game. It is what it is. They haven't really improved. For me personally, I'm going to say this right now. I don't think they really improved their team. Jack Grealish is a good signing. I don't know if he's an improvement on what they currently have. That's my question.
So you're saying they spent 100 million to go sideways?
Damn. That might be what I'm saying. Oh, wow. I feel like they needed a striker more. So the pursuit of Kane made sense because Aguero's gone. That's your club legend. He was injured quite a bit anyway, so he wasn't really available. The confidence in Gabriel Jesus has diminished year by year as he's been on that club. So they needed a killer up front. And I feel like if they had Kane being supplied by all these other players around him, he would have had the time of his life. But look, this game, whether they win, draw, or lose, I wouldn't use it as a barometer to see how their season will go. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll always compete for everything. That's the kind of squad they've built. That's the kind of manager they have. He competes for trophies. You'll be very, very, very shocked if they didn't compete for anything or if they didn't win anything. Okay, this is a decent shot by Double D. Say he could play false nine. I've never seen him play that position before. I know he's more of a left-sided / maybe central attacking.
I've never seen him play centre mid though. I feel like they're assuming he can play centre mid.
It's
I
more
feel
of
like he's been a winger.
Yeah, I think it's because at Villa he had the license, didn't he? He has the license to be around the pitch. He's their best player, or he was their best player. So he had that license to do what he wanted on the pitch and influence the game, which you would do when you got your best player who can play in that kind of role. Why would you limit him? You wanted to get involved in the game 24/7, be on the ball, make things happen. But I just feel like they needed a striker, and Big Ron. I was about to make a point that Big Ron actually just brought up that they don't require a striker to win the league. For me personally,
how often can you repeat that though?
That's exactly what I was gonna say, because Jem said earlier that all teams, even good teams, they do get found out. You have to change things every now and then, keep things interesting.
Pep gets found out quite a bit, man.
He does, and last year,
and if you look at last season as well, they didn't have a they didn't really have any challengers, did they? It wasn't like there was anyone up their asses really trying to pressure. We all had kind of a bit of a flop off, So I don't think you get away with not playing a striker, and I'll be surprised if they've done it again without a striker. I agree with Kojo.
They scored the most goals in the Premier League as a team in the Premier League.
They do, but
I think it was 89, but they usually get 100, so that's that themselves.
Yeah.
They'll have games where they score 5-6. That's what they do. Gundogan will score goals. Sterling will score goals. Mahrez will score goals. KDB will. They have goals all over the squad. So I think that's why people don't worry about them not having a striker. And I think that's fair to say. I just feel like if they have the extra striker, it gives you if you're a City fan, a certain more confidence that you have a goal scorer on top of goals of being around the goal scorer. It just adds that bit more to your team and it makes people be a bit more threatened by your presence when you step onto the pitch with them. So look, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll still compete. I don't think they'll have an issue competing, but it'll be interesting to see how they approach this game. Spurs have a lot to prove. I want to see what Santo does with not being told that he must sign Portuguese players, because none of his signings have been Portuguese. So that's the first thing you have to mention. And secondly, I think what I've seen in preseason so far for Spurs is a different 4 at the back, 5 at the back, 3 centre backs, whatever formation. There's been difference and there's been different styles. Romero's a good signing. Golini is actually a good signing as well. Whether he starts or is a backup to Laurie, regardless, that's a good signing as a goalkeeper. And then Brian Hill.
Yeah.
Good talent as well, and he impressed in the Olympics. So
he did.
Excited to see him do what he possibly could do in the Premier League. I think they'll be fine. I think City will be fine. And Spurs really. Actually, I'm not saying they need a good start, but the last time they had a good start and they got excited, everything came crumbling down fast. So they need Kane to stay more than anything. They need Kane. It's the history. So they need Kane to stay more than anything. But City will be fine. They'll always compete. Whether they win the league or not, I don't think they'll win the league. They'll win something, but I don't think they'll win the league. So
who wins the league then?
I've got Chelsea or Man United to win in the league.
I've got Arsenal.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. No, hell no. Fuck that. Bloody hell. Anyway, that is that, ladies, gentlemen, ladies and thems. Thank you very much for joining us. Like and subscribe to the channel. Jem, where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, on Twitter, CFC_Jem. I do have my own channel as well, GNA TV. So if you guys want to come over there, I'm doing a bit of Chelsea at the moment, but we do predominantly try and do Big Six reviews. We're going to be doing a Man United show as well. There's a couple of things that are in the pipeline to be done over there. So yeah, get checking out.
Check those guys out. Coach Hojo, where can they find us?
Find us here on YouTube, 3inMidfield Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, 3inMidfield, and yeah, that's about it, isn't it?
That is about it. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.